this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
#1 hits, millions of records sold, awards, sold-out tours. You think the Jonas Brothers are satisfied? Nope. It's podcast time.
We get to ask other people questions because we're sick and tired of being asked questions.
Hey Jonas is available now, and their first guest is a big one, Paul Rudd.
You know, Steve Carell is a great singer.
Can he tell you not to audition for The Office or something?
I told him.
Whoa.
We were filming Anchorman. Clearly, I was the idiot. Thank God he didn't listen to me, right?
Listen to Hey Jonas on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Another podcast from some SNL late-night comedy guy, not quite. On Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends, me and hilarious guests from Jim Gaffigan to Dave Attell to David Letterman help make you funnier. On this episode, my guests Bob Odenkirk and Kids in the Hall's Bruce McCullough try and help the Kazoo Kid and Tayson Day be famous again.
You know, people love alternate universe shows, right? Those are very big right now. So what if there's an alternate universe show where you guys are incredibly popular?
Well, and they could travel up the land doing meet and greets and solving crimes.
No, they're constantly needed at malls. Either for signings or because that's where a murder took place.
Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends from iHeartMedia and Big Money Players. Listen to Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're watching the latest season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, you already know there's a lot to break down.
Portia accusing Kelly of sleeping with a married man. They holding K. Michelle back from fighting Drew. Pinky has financial issues.
On the podcast, Reality with the King, I, Carlos King, recap the biggest moments from your favorite reality shows, including the Real Housewives franchise, the drama, the alliances, and the tea everybody's talking about. To hear this and more, listen to Reality with the King on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This season on Dear Chelsea, with me, Chelsea Handler, we have some fantastic guests, like Amelia Clark.
When young people come up to me and they want to be an actor or whatever, and my first thing is always, can you think of anything else that you can do?
Rather be
because
disappointed in.
do that.
David Oyelowo.
I love this podcast, whether it's therapy or relationships or religion or sex or addiction, or you just go straight for the guts.
Dennis Leary. Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things. Tana Mongeau. Camilla Marone, Carrie Kenny Silver, and more. Listen to these episodes of Dear Chelsea on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hit that intro, go! Laugh with me when the rent's past due and the car won't start. Laugh with me when the only sponsor is my broken heart. We're hanging on this janky stream. Two weird voices in the glow of a screen. If the world won't sing, then let it laugh with me.
Welcome back. It's a brand new episode. This is Laugh With Me, the podcast with Jeremy Odem, and I'm your host!
Jeremy stares at the stats and shaking over takeout boxes. Johnny's already mapping hotels on a napkin with greasy crosses. They quit jobs, they kinda hate it. Tell their bosses, catch the show. Boss just shrugs, hope it's funny. Johnny grins, you'll never know.
Hey, it's J.O., and happy summer. Happy June. I mean, it's June, I guess. Officially, we have not hit summer. That'll come on the 20th, but I guess it just depends on how you read the calendar. See, my son, he's in high school. He reads the seasons in a month block. It's not a spring starts on March 20th and June 20th is summer. He goes with the starts of the month. So this June 1st is the official start to summer. And I'll tell you what, being outside a little bit, it certainly is starting to feel that way. I've been doing a lot of walking and starting my shorts. I wear basketball shorts. They're starting to fall off me a little bit. That's a good feeling, but a lot of sweat. Let me tell you that right now, Johnny. A lot of sweat. Always been a big fan of June. My birthday is this month. And Johnny, I'm not like you where, April's your birthday month and you have to have the entire month, to celebrate you. And I know a lot of people do that, or at the very minimum do birthday week or, whatever it is. I tend to, the day is my birthday on the day of, on the 20th. And, it is what it is. I turn a year older. But this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a start to a fantastic summer. I've got a great story for y'all today. This is a story I've never told. But this is a story worth telling. And I've had people ask me before. They say, J.O., you talk about the Juice often. Have you ever met him? Have you ever spoken to him? He is deceased, now. And of course, the Juice, we're talking about OJ Simpson. And people, I've always had this, I'm not a fan. You can't say you're a fan of a guy like OJ, can you? Unless you were, a fan of his football, of his football era, and he was one of the all-time greats. I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner, just a legend at USC in college, and then, of course, in the NFL. And certainly a Hall of Famer across the board. And then you get after his playing career, and the guy just continued to be successful. I mean, he's a very interesting cat. And obviously, I knew who OJ Simpson was the time in which I started to become, I guess, fascinated by the Juice. Of course, was the trial of the century. I mean, it was at a very, I think I was in junior high school, maybe into high school. No, couldn't, maybe early high school. But either way, it was at a time in my life, and it played out over the summer. So it was one of the original reality shows, watching the OJ Simpson trial. And I'm just fascinated by it. And then I read books about it. And, during COVID, they're coming out with the documentaries, and even post then the documentaries about it. And I'm eating it up, right? I'm loving it. I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. From him even potentially doing these horrible crimes. That was it. He was found not guilty, Johnny. That was not. I wasn't like joking when I said potential. I mean, he's certainly very. I mean, the evidence certainly showed that maybe OJ did these terrible, terrible crimes. Okay, certainly the evidence points his direction. What I'm saying is the jury of his peers found him not guilty. So we have to like respect that. But the evidence, man. Obviously the jury of public opinion leaned toward OJ did it. But I always found that part fascinating, the before, during, and after. And then the fella still ended up in prison, spending some time before eventually getting out. So, what a life. This guy lived probably 4, 5, 6 different lives. And I've always found him very fascinating. Now, the story I'm going to tell you today is one that I've never told before. And it's one that I'm hesitant to tell. And that's because this is the time that I golfed with one OJ Simpson. That's right. I golfed with Mr. OJ Simpson himself. I played 18 holes, and honestly, the weirdest part wasn't even that I golfed with OJ Simpson. The weirdest part was how freaking normal the guy acts. Because in my mind, if you're golfing with OJ Simpson, there's going to be some kind of like giant cloud hanging over the conversation, like constantly, right? But this guy, he acts like he's like a retired accountant, and he just golfs in the mornings. You know, he's just another guy trying to get through a Tuesday. But it all started with a text message. No greetings, no explanations, just these words. Golf tomorrow, 8 a.m., OJ. That's it. No details, no reasoning. Just enough information to kind of ruin my night, right? Because now I'm nervous. And I'm not, like, I golf. I golf a couple of times a year. So when people go, oh, you getting out? Are you golfing? How you golfing? And I'm like, well, the one time I did golf this year, I lost a lot of balls, especially on that back nine at Bay Hills. So I golf, but not frequently. So not enough to be any good. And not enough to find myself on the golf course with OJ Simpson. But here I am. I guess when you're a fan, so to speak, Johnny, you can end up in these situations. But I am, however, a podcast host, so I was excited because this is potential content. The problem is, well, the fella ended up dead. So you can't really dive in to all these golf stories when the fella's dead. Or can you? I guess that's where I'm at. Because you obviously can tell the story when he's alive and he's able to answer those questions. You cannot tell those stories immediately right after he died, because then it feels like you're jumping. So I waited. I've waited a couple years now. Or I don't know. We did an episode. We did a moment of silence for OJ back when he did die. So we have documented OJ on Laugh With Me. It, I believe, has been a couple of years now, but we just go back. It's called A Moment of Silence. It's a fun episode. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, if you're into moment of silences and potential murderers dying, but anyway, yeah, I get this text. Okay, 8 a.m. tomorrow, OJ golf, so to speak, and I'm nervous. Okay, obviously I say yes. I'm golfing with OJ, so I show up to the golf course. And I'm standing next to the golf cart, and he is wearing the brightest golf polo I have ever seen in my life. Like, he is loud and proud. He waves over to me. He's like, J.O., ready to lose? And that right there immediately is when I knew I was in trouble. Because confident golfers are dangerous. Like, those are the worst types you want to see on the golf course. Unless they're on your team. If you're teaming up, that's what you want. Like my buddy Joe, we paired up beginning of May. We played a 2-on-2. He's confident like this. That's who I want on my team. But when you're going up against somebody, that's the last thing you need to start 18. It's that kind of confidence. So we get to the first tee box. And I've got to break the ice. I don't know OJ. And I'm just like, OJ, thanks for doing this. And he's like, anything for the fans. And then I'm nervous because now I'm OJ's fan. And it's... I don't know if you want to be on record for that necessarily, but, here I am. But then he proceeds to launch a drive that probably lands, somewhere from Vegas to L.A. It disappeared so fast. And mine, well, it's like, 40, 50 yards, which to me, as long as it lands and I can play it, is about as good as I'm going to get. So I feel pretty good about that. Again, I'm golfing 1, 2. If I golf 3 times in a year, it's been a good year for me. Like a real good year. And let's see. So far in 26, I have golfed 1 time. So, we just started summer today. So, if I get out another time, I know for sure I'm going to be golfing at the end of August. There's a shot I can make a run at 3. But currently... 2. So anyway, I know what I want to ask OJ while golfing with him. Like, I know what needs to be done. But he doesn't make it easy. So I'm like, OJ, when most people think of your legacy, and then before I can even finish, he says the Naked Gun. Immediately, so now I know I'm Laugh With Me podcast, so he wants to talk about comedy. He wants to talk about the Naked Gun. So immediately he's the Naked Gun and is very proud that he has the Naked Gun in his back pocket. And I'm a fan of the Naked Gun. So great movie, great cast. He's hilarious in it. Completely committed to the bit at all times. And I've read some things. He's taken some. He took some big ups and downs in his acting career. Very charismatic, worked really hard, very professional on set. Definitely wanted to make acting, the next career for him after football. But he just as a serious actor, and he played in many serious roles. He'd get the role over some very good actors, guys that are classically trained and would just have been a better fit. But OJ, would get the studio's approval because it's OJ Simpson and he draws eyeballs. So it's one of those things where you can get a name brand, bring people in, or you can get a better performance. So OJ definitely had work to do. But what he did find in The Naked Gun and in that comedy world is he found that he can play things straight in the comedy world, and it's just hilarious. So I did my best. I talk about Naked Gun, and for the next 3 holes, I gave it everything I had. I'd say, so what was Leslie Nielsen like? Who also big fan of. Sorry, I messed up his name.
#1 hits, millions of records sold, awards, sold out tours. You think the Jonas Brothers are satisfied? Nope. It's podcast time.
We get to ask other people questions because we're sick and tired of being asked questions.
Hey Jonas is available now, and their first guest is a big one, Paul Rudd.
Steve Carell is a great singer.
Can he tell you not to audition for The Office or something?
I told him.
Whoa.
We were filming Anchorman. Clearly, I was the idiot. Thank God he didn't listen to me, right?
Listen to Hey Jonas on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Another podcast from some SNL late night comedy guy, not quite. On Humor Me with Robert Smigel and friends, me and hilarious guests from Jim Gaffigan to Dave Attell to David Letterman help make you funnier. On this episode, my guests Bob Odenkirk and Kids in the Hall's Bruce McCullough try and help the Kazoo Kid and Tayson Day be famous again.
People love alternate universe shows, right? Those are very big right now. So what if there's an alternate universe show where you guys are incredibly popular?
Well, and they could travel up the land doing meet and greets and solving crimes.
No, they're constantly needed at malls. Either for signings or because that's where a murder took place.
Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends from iHeartMedia and Big Money Players. Listen to Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're watching the latest season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, you already know there's a lot to break down.
Portia accusing Kelly of sleeping with a married man. They holding K. Michelle back from fighting Drew. Pinky has financial issues.
I like the bougie style of Housewives show. I think it looks like it's going to be interesting.
On the podcast, Reality with the King, I, Carlos King, recap the biggest moments from your favorite reality shows, including the Real Housewives franchise, the drama, the alliances, and the tea everybody's talking about. As an executive producer in reality television, I'm not just watching it, I understand the game. As somebody who creates shows, I'll even say this. At the end of the day, when people are at home, they want entertainment. To hear this and more, listen to Reality with the King on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Deanna Maria Riva, actress, mother, lover, and a Gen X woman walking through life one hot flash and hormonal crying jag at a time. You ladies know what I mean. I'll bet you a perimenopausal chin hair you do. So let's talk about it. Join me on my new podcast, How Hard Can It Be with Deanna Maria Riva, where I call on my Gen X squads from Ohio to Hollywood as we navigate midlife's most fantastic BS.
All of a sudden, I'd had hangingness happening on my own. I was like, What the hell is that?
I was married when I had her, so I didn't even consider how empty that nest was going to be.
Mood swings, night sweats, fupas, sex drive. Wait, what sex? Dating at 45. How hard can it be? Getting naked at 50 with the new guy.
That one's kind of hard, no? Well, that's lighting.
They say we can't polish a turd, but we're sure going to try. So let's get blunt with laughs, tears, or tears of laughter and dive into it unfiltered and unbothered and ask, how hard can it be?
I cannot believe I'm about to say this out loud in public.
Listen to How Hard Can It Be with Diana Maria Riva as part of My Cultura Podcast Network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And I'd get like a 15-minute answer. You know, he'd talk about Leslie Nielsen the way like football fans talk about Tom Brady. You know, he loved Leslie. And at one point he says, funniest guy I've ever met. And then he explained that Leslie would tell jokes with absolutely zero expression, which we know. You watch any Leslie Nielsen movie, and it makes total sense. I mean, he looked like he could deliver weather reports while complete chaos was happening around him, and he would shoot it to you straight. That's his superpower. Like, that is a skill. And honestly, that's probably maybe why OJ shined in The Naked Gun, was because Leslie Nielsen, you could bounce off him. Like, you probably learned a lot from watching him, and especially in that kind of environment. But he's just going on and on about The Naked Gun. Obviously, not necessarily the content we need to get behind, right? I mean, there's bigger fish to fry here. So then I had to get more direct. So we get the whole for it. I'm just like, okay. So after you become one of the most famous people in America, and before I could even finish my question, he says, for The Naked Gun. Again, his timing is impeccable. He's like a veteran boxer slipping a punch. Like, he just, bam, hits me. And I wasn't mad. I was like really impressed because he came prepared. He not only knew he could be the best golfer on the golf course that day, he knew how to beat me to the punch and make his mark. If avoiding the trial subject was an Olympic sport, he'd have like he's Michael Phelps. Like, he's incredible. So then we get to hole 6, and we hit a water hazard. And like, okay, I hit the water hazard. And we go, OJ watched, he laughed. I hit another ball, also found water. And he's like, you're keeping the fish well supplied. And honestly, that's a solid joke. And anytime you can take a dig from OJ Simpson, I mean, that's cool, right? Right? Johnny? Thanks. Johnny hates OJ, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Johnny says OJ did do it. OJ had just an incredible defense in that trial, and that the opposition just made too many mistakes. Thus, the shadow of doubt was there for the jury. Fair enough, Johnny. That's very possible. And you know, when he then went through the civil trial and had to go through it all over again, and then he loses, a lot of people, like the haters, were like, okay, absolutely, things got right. Now he's just not in prison. Whatever. I guess it just depends on how you look at it, right? It's like, you didn't win the Big Ten Conference, but you won the Natty. Like, you won is that what you want? I don't know. Is that a good comparison? Anyway, golfing with OJ. We hit the turn. We go to the clubhouse for hot dogs, and I obviously was hungry, but still kind of like knotted up, so I could only eat one hot dog. But OJ's he's used to getting, you know, the 5-star steak dinner when he hits the clubhouse, and I'm sure that's what he ends up eating, you know, later in the day, because the fella, he spends the entire day at the golf course. I mean, he's not golfing the whole time, but this is this hang. I mean, this is where he's at. And I'm not giving the location, by the way. That's I don't want this to become like some kind of like touristy thing where people are like, oh, that's the place where J.O. and O.J. golfed. Like, that could be a thing, and I am not diving into that world. So that'll just be between me and the juice. But he hangs there all day. But anyway, I had a hot dog. It wasn't bad. But I was super nervous. So we get back on the course. We finish up the back nine, okay? It gets a little weirder because now OJ's starting to pitch me like movie ideas. Like not one movie, but like several movies. Like he maybe wants to like get into Hollywood again, but there's just zero chance that anybody in Hollywood's going to bring him in. Plus the money is a problem because his money needs to go to the Goldman. Like he's got problems. He can't just go get a job, right? So anyway, OJ, one of his best ideas was for a new Naked Gun film. He says the city falls apart, and he has to go and solve crimes. And obviously not a good idea. In fact, they just last year, a brand new Naked Gun movie, and it crushed. And they did touch on OJ. They make one reference, at least, to OJ Simpson, which he had to do because people wanted to know how they were going to address that. So obviously kudos to them. One of the guys from Lonely Island directed it. But that was OJ's best idea. And when I say best idea, the rest of the ideas were absolute trash that would never get up off the cutting room floor. Thank you, Johnny. But around hole 12, I tried one more time. I need to get my questions in because if you get a shot with OJ Simpson, you do want to make the most of it and ask the questions that you want to ask. I mean, because not many people get this kind of access. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to ease into it. Maybe I'm going to take a scenic route to this. I'm going to say, you've certainly had an interesting life, is what I tell him. But then he points at this goose, and I have my own history with geese. Okay? I famously tried feeding, like, this goose some bread or French fries, something that I had. I was trying to feed it, and then I ran out, and then the goose was coming at me and just bark, 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 and coming at me, and so now I feel like they talk, like geese talk, and so whenever I come across one, I just kind of try to avoid them. But he starts talking about the goose, and he's like, man, these geese are mean. So then we spend 10 minutes talking about geese, and I'm starting to get frustrated because he is like freaking Houdini with these questions. Like he is hopping out of the handcuffs of my questions. But then the funniest thing happens in a sand trap, and it's not his, it's mine, obviously. Like I'm living in the sand, in the water, in the trees. So I'm standing there staring at my ball, and OJ walks over and says, you've got to hit the sand, not the ball, which sounds really smart. Until you realize that's not exactly how bad golf lessons start. Like I swing, sand explodes, ball's still there. Like it's not that simple. Like, yeah, you swing into the sand, but you have to at least lift the ball of some type. Which I am obviously not very good at. So that's the type of sand pit lesson you would get golfing with the Jews. By the time we get to the end, 18th hole, right? I'm exhausted. And he's having the time of his life because he has juked me for hours. And he hasn't juked this well since he played for the Buffalo Bills. But somehow it's still entertaining. Like we're on the final tee box, sun's going down. We played 18. I've lost 35, 37 balls. And I asked, like, any final thoughts? And he says, golf's a lot like life. Which is exactly what every golfer says, right? Before delivering, like, some kind of, like, random nonsense, right? But then he says, you're trying to reach a destination. Sometimes you end up in the rough. Sometimes you end up in the sand. Sometimes you're exactly where you wanted to be. And I'm thinking, wow, like, that's pretty profound. And then he adds, and sometimes your friend hits a squirrel. And that's when then we are back to kind of how OJ's brain works. So that's it. That's the time I played 18 holes with OJ Simpson. Thank you, John. People that I've told this story to before, they've said, Jeremy, you screwed up. You have to ask OJ Simpson if he did it, how he did it, how he got away with it. Did he find the real killer? And to that I say, here I am on the golf course with one of the most notorious people in America. And I'm just trying to enjoy my day. Like, what do you want me to do? I could press it, but then I could get escorted off the course. There were times I was alone with the man. I don't know what else he has in that golf bag. Like, I don't know the skeletons buried under 13, right? I just don't. And I wasn't ready to find out. Plus, I was too new at this. I feel like if I was sitting across from OJ right now, I would first of all notice the smell because he's been dead a bit. But then once I got past that, I think I would just hit him right away with the, did this really happen? Did you do it? How did you get away with it? And I don't know. I just don't know what he would say. I don't know. Maybe he would say, let's talk about the Naked Gun. Oh, Johnny. So that was my dream last night. I wish I could have golfed with OJ Simpson, and I wish I could have asked him these questions, and I fully believe he would have 100% just talked about the Naked Gun. I mean, it's OJ. 100% he would have, and honestly, I probably would have enjoyed talking to OJ about the Naked Gun just because I'm a big fan of the movies. Probably would have had 30 questions just based on that, and then it just would have been interesting to like observe him in his environment and how he interacts with other people, because a lot of people say that, you know, post his prison time and he was just golfing in Vegas, that it was incredible watching him interact with the people at the golf course and the fans or the workers and everybody that would come by. But that would have been really interesting, Johnny. But that was my dream. That's how I knew summer was here. When you're dreaming. A lot of people will dream about going golfing. Not J.O. I not only dream about golfing, I dream about golfing with OJ Simpson. Oh, all right, Johnny. Thanks for listening. Summer is here.
Hit that intro, go! Laugh with me when the rent's past due and the car won't start. Laugh with me when the only sponsor is my broken heart. We're hanging on this janky stream. Two weird voices in the glow of a screen. If the world won't sing, then let it laugh with me.
Hey guys, it's us, the Jonas Brothers. I'm Joe.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Nick. And guess what? We created our own podcast called Hey Jonas.
We invented a podcast?
Well, we didn't invent it. We just contributed to it.
We're the first people to do podcasts.
We get to ask other people questions because we're sick and tired of being asked questions.
Well, sick and tired is a strong way to put it, but, you know.
Tired and sick.
Tired and sick.
Listen to Hey Jonas on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just listen. We don't care where you hear it.
Another podcast from some SNL late night comedy guy, not quite. On Humor Me with Robert Smigel and friends, me and hilarious guests from Jim Gaffigan to Dave Attell to David Letterman help make you funnier. On this episode, my guests Bob Odenkirk and Kids in the Hall's Bruce McCullough try and help the Kazoo Kid and Tayson Day be famous again.
You know, people love alternate universe shows, right? Those are very big right now. So what if there's an alternate universe show where you guys are incredibly popular?
Well, and they could travel up the land doing meet and greets and solving crimes.
No, they're constantly needed at malls. Either for signings or because that's where a murder took place.
Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends from iHeartMedia and Big Money Players. Listen to Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This season on Dear Chelsea, with me, Chelsea Handler, we have some fantastic guests, like Amelia Clark.
When young people come up to me and they want to be an actor or whatever, and my first thing is always, can you think of anything else that you can do?
Rather be
because
disappointed in.
do that.
David Oyelowo.
I love this podcast, whether it's therapy or relationships or religion or sex or addiction, or you just go straight for the guts.
Dennis Leary, Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things, Tana Mongeau, Camilla Marone, Carrie Kenny Silver, and more. Listen to these episodes of Dear Chelsea on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're watching the latest season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, you already know there's a lot to break down.
Portia accusing Kelly of sleeping with a married man. They holding K. Michelle back from fighting Drew. Pinky has financial issues.
On the podcast, Reality with the King, I, Carlos King, recap the biggest moments from your favorite reality shows, including the Real Housewives franchise, the drama, the alliances, and the tea everybody's talking about. To hear this and more, listen to Reality with the King on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.